Hello and welcome to my short presentation on the importance of road maintenance for the decarbonization of road transport. My name is Carsten Karcher. I'm the Secretary General of the European Asphalt Pavement Association. To set the scene, I would like to inform you about the greenhouse gas emissions in the world and in the EU. Number one polluter in the world is China, with more than 13,000 million tons of CO2. Followed by the United States, Europe, India. In Europe alone, we release more than 4,000 million tons of CO2 per year. And when you look at the different national countries, you see that Germany is the biggest polluter with more than 800 million tons of CO2, followed by the United Kingdom, France, Italy, Poland, and Spain, which are the big players. The transport, next to industry, agriculture, and so on, and the energy sector, of course, the transport is responsible for nearly 30% of the EU's total CO2 emissions. And from the transport itself, 72% come from the road transport. And this is related to cars, light-duty trucks, heavy-duty trucks, and motorcycles. If you calculate this 30% and 72% of this 4,000 million tons of CO2 emissions per year from the EU, then it counts up to 860 million tons of CO2 emissions only related to road transport. But what has this to do with road maintenance? But let me first explain the backlog in road maintenance by the example of the UK. A recently published alarm report from the Asphalt Industry Alliance in the UK, member MPA of EAPA is part of that, shows that there's a big backlog in the UK when it comes to local roads. Local roads are resurfaced only every 70 years, so 7 decades before it gets a new surface, a new asphalt layer. If a one-time catch-up would have been calculated, or it has been done, then it would take 9 years to do that, to bring the road network back in a good condition with smooth and even road surfaces, and that would cost more than £12 billion. So these roads have potholes, have cracks, have raveling, and have other deteriorations. And if you would drive on such a road, you would definitely need more fuel consumption than you would need if you would ride on a smooth and even road. And not only to speak about the fuel consumption, also about comfort, safety, and also all the repairs that are related to your car when you drive on such a cars year in and year out. So smooth and even roads with a good road surface condition reduce rolling resistance, reduce CO2 emissions because less fuel is needed. And EAPA, together with some colleagues from other associations, calculated that based on international independent research, and found out that 5%, at least 5% of fuel consumption and related to that CO2 emissions could be reduced by smooth and even roads. Depending on the state of the road surface, or the condition of the road surface, depending on countries, areas, and so on, it could be even more or maybe less. But in average, let's say it's more than 5%. And on top of that, if you would have tailor-made road surfaces with a surface made of plateaus, for example, which is still safe, but is low noisy, or has a lower noise emission, and also less fuel consumption and therefore less CO2 emissions, you could even reduce further the CO2 emissions. So when we calculate that based on the 860 million tons of CO2 that are related to road transport, 5% of that is 40 million tons of CO2 emissions per year, which could be saved every year with a good road maintenance. This is 1% of the EU's total greenhouse gas emissions, and for example, 5% of Germany's greenhouse gas emissions. Just a figure to compare these figures. To produce all the asphalt per year in Europe, 10 million tons of CO2 emissions are used. So this is only 1/4 of that what we can save every year with a good road maintenance and roads with good surface conditions. So you all know that asphalt roads can be perpetual roads, and we from time to time have to upkeep and have to maintain the road surface, and this gives us a kind of flexibility for this material. And with this procedures, the asphalt roads can also be adapted to new challenges. And one of these challenges these days is to adapt asphalt roads to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And this is possible with smooth and even road surfaces, maybe also with tailor-made asphalt. Thank you so much for listening to this short presentation.